All right, so I am here this morning because I am going to do some laminating before I head off to work. A lot of times I like to do it at home just because it's kind of like in the comfort of my own home. I can get it done. I don't waste a lot of time at school. Usually this would be something you'd have your assistant teacher do, but for a couple of reasons that doesn't happen. And so, I have an intention for how I'm setting the day. And so sometimes I have waited for that to happen, time to open up, and it's just about time management and getting used to like, this is how much time you have, this is the priority, and that sort of thing. So rather than fight or fuss or get frustrated, I just go ahead and do it myself. I think I might have mentioned in another video that I found a series of animals. So I'm giving the children the ABC format in the form of animals, and then I'm also teaching them about the uppercase letter or the capital letter. It's important because I'm in a Montessori classroom. Many times, traditionally, you don't teach uppercase letters, but children actually many times are taught to write their name in uppercase letters. It's just easier for them to do it uppercase. But because we focus more on sound, letter sound, not letter name, and we focus on lowercase letters because when you're writing like CVC words and things like that, the majority of them are in lowercase. So it's a pathway more to reading as opposed to writing. I mean, I might be saying that wrong, but that's kind of like my mindset on it. So because I know many of the children are not going to kindergarten in a Montessori school, because traditionally Montessori doesn't have kindergarten. It's a 3-year program where the 3rd years in your primary classroom is kindergarten. I don't want to set them up for failure where they feel like they're going in feeling confident that they've been learning so much at school, and they find out, well, actually what you've been learning at school, at your school, they're not teaching it that way in public school. So just try to get ahead of that a little bit as much as I can, because so much of that has been the frustration of this new endeavor, being in a new school, a new program. I was told it was an observation school, but again, if you're a teacher, you understand observations because that's just a part of it, right? And in daycare, you do know many of the daycare centers have cameras on you all the time. So again, that's something you're not really being fussed about. But it's twofold. First is that a Montessori teacher usually has time to observe, meaning sit down in their classroom and just observe what's going on in the classroom. There isn't any time for that. There just isn't any time for it, and not in that like, oh, there's just not enough time, but like literally I have one work cycle with the children because all of them nap in the afternoon. It's in our state, it's a mandatory 90-minute nap. That 90 minutes is from like 1 to 2:30, and then they're gone by 3. So really, if you don't get them working on anything in the morning, they're just not working on anything, which then becomes just a play-based preschool, which again, nothing wrong with that, but that's not really the expectation for most parents. So anyway, because there's not observation on my part, but we literally are always getting observed either by corporate people or by our head of school, or there's many people, many layers of observation, let's just say it that way. I could honestly say I'm observed for about an hour at a time, at least 3 out of 5 days a week. So if you can imagine feeling like you're in a laboratory that much, snapshots being written down about you, but you never know what those snapshots are. I tell you, if I were an anxious person, I would probably be sent over the edge with the way in which observations are handled. But I just think at this point, it's just a matter of recognizing I'm on a 2-year contract. I can't go anywhere for 2 years because my moving expenses were paid. And so how do I manage it? How do I keep the focus on the children and not necessarily about how I'm feeling about everything? So it's like a daily recalibrating of what I'm feeling and doing as I go into the building. And I think more than anything, if I didn't have a strong relationship with God, either this would push me towards it, or this would have me starting to question, if there's a God, is this all worth it? Because I did walk in believing this was God's plan, that I've been, this was my natural next step, that it was my purpose for this time in my life to be here. But, if you've been walking around having these birthdays, Earth going around the sun, as Montessori birthday celebrations say, you've done that a number of times, you start to realize, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they do. That's number one. And in layman's terms, like this realization of like people don't even know sometimes, not all the time, that they are misleading you by what they're saying. And I would say because many of the people are not Montessori trained or have had a Montessori training but haven't really had the true been in a classroom, understand what those beautiful words mean. They don't know, they don't understand. But there are people there that do know. They do know. They know this is quite excessive. They have been teachers before, Montessori teachers. And the way in which, on the one hand, you're being told, well, of course, wherever they're at is wherever they're at. And you're learning and growing as long as them, but also we need to give you a goal to make sure you get it done, and not ask, do you already have a goal for yourself and what you need to get done? Because guess what? We do these quarterly self-checks. That also is where we say what it is that we're doing. So a first-year teacher coming in, I don't even know how they handle this. And somebody who's been several years and you just again go back to like, what are you going to do with this now? Because this is what it is. And either pay the money back for your moving expense or change your attitude. And I'm really trying to change my attitude. That's why so much of what I'm doing now is working on truly having work-life balance. Because if I walk out the door at 4 o'clock and I go to the gym, or I go, go bowling, or I sit down and actually do a craft. I think I might have mentioned that I'm definitely getting back into playing an instrument. So my recorder is here. I just have to get it out of my mailbox. So I have the ukulele and the recorder. It's almost like I'm in a mad dash to just do as much creative things as I can. And then sooner or later it'll settle in. And I say that because, as I mentioned before, I used to really be into reading, then got bogged down with reading things for work. Couldn't seem to find my way with a fiction routine. And I have since, in the last year, really gotten into reading fiction again. So I will do a video on the books that finally brought me back to a love of fiction writing. So let me show you a couple of these. Like, look at this one. Oh my gosh, T is for turtle. I'll also talk about at some point like what I look for in a material. Because yes, if you're a Montessori teacher, you are looking for real life photos. But I do look for a little bit more, so I will talk about that on a later video. Okay, so with that, I will go ahead and continue on with laminating these alphabet cards, and I will check back in later. getting up, taking some time to prep something for school. I'm prepping a lesson right now called Animals and Their Homes. So I found this beautiful watercolor style material, and of course it's always the mad dash to get it taken care of. So yeah, I have been sharing with you how this has been quite the year of learning and and growing. There's another one, a rabbit in the burrow. It's so beautiful, right? I will link down below where I got this material from. It's just really lovely. So again, this being a year of learning and growing, one of them being the realignment of what my expectation is from an assistant teacher. Now, I will say, having been an assistant teacher, I have never been one to treat my assistant teacher as someone in the classroom who's just cleaning the room and walking around busy children so that I can get things done. It has always been a team effort. Now, obviously, I'm carrying the full weight of it because I'm the one that's keeping track of where children are for the most part. I'm the one that's going to have to answer the hard questions with parents about where they are academically. So, I truly carry the load, but there are many ways to still feel in partnership with someone. And I'm telling you, this is the year of constantly having to remind someone who is not the assistant teacher. And it has been quite the journey. Part of it being because in the system that I'm working in, there is, it's established that when I'm not there, the assistant teacher moves into my spot and then they bring someone else in, which again, I think that is a normal way that is handled, when a lead has a day off. But because the person that I am attached to has never worked in preschool, has never worked in Montessori, a lot of what we're doing is I'm carrying a lot of the load, but she doesn't really understand how much of the load I'm carrying. And from time to time, there'll just be this feeling of like, you need to move a bit quicker, or you need to have put a timer on, which I've said a couple of times very gently, maybe you should put a timer on about this. And that just being met with, I don't even know what it's being met with. I can't read somebody's mind. But it came to a head yet again yesterday, where I said, I thought we established this is what you're going to do. And I had said it even before before this is, okay, so remember what you're going to be doing this. Didn't do it. I ended up doing it. And I said it, and they said, I did it yesterday. I said, yes, I know you did it yesterday. And I said to you today, you'll be doing it today. And it's something so minute, in a sense, but I was like running a lesson, and doing a group lesson, by the way, with paint. And so really needed to be on my toes with what was going on. And I was met with, I was busy with something. You were busy with something? I was busy with something too. So it was like that. I said, okay. And so I responded, remember, and I mentioned what I was busy with. And then they responded back with what they were busy with specifically, like I didn't understand. To which I said, I actually called in backup for you to do the thing you were doing. It's just like, and it's like over and over again, it feels like one step forward, two steps back of this understanding of like, I'm not saying what you're doing is more important, less important than what I'm doing, but you're not even noticing like how much I'm doing on top of other things. And I specifically assign this part to you.
So I am, like I said, it has been such the journey of like understanding like where I am in this environment, how I'm I'm being treated. And the funniest thing is this morning I was looking at an assessment this morning because again, this is what a lead teacher does. She gets up early, she's preparing, she's doing all these things. I look at the report. It has the assistant teacher's name as the lead teacher. And I just started laughing. I'm like, oh my goodness. If it had not been for God who is on my side, if I did not have a relationship with God that I have as a meaningful way to gauge how I'm going to act in the world, I don't know what kind of crazy fool I'd be acting like. I literally don't know. I've been given enough ammunition to really be a crappy, venomous human being, and yet I choose not to. I choose to get up and still be here for these children. I choose to go in there and make it a good day today. So on that note, I'm going to head on out. There's a local coffee shop called Black Rock here, and I noticed while I was at bowling last night, because I did go bowling, that there was a coupon for $2 off. So I'm going to go get my coffee today, and I'll be back later.
Well, hello. I have scheduled a day off from work today, so I am meeting a friend for coffee. A friend I've known for quite a long time. I actually met her when I was a manager of a retail store, and she was like 16 years old, and now, grown lady, married, 4 kids, and with all my moving around, we have managed to stay in touch. She actually teacher by profession all of her career, and then switched a couple years ago and then became a full-time mom because she had twins. But she's very much the one, when I talk about the state of the union when it comes to teaching, she hashtag, I won't say it the way some people say it, never will forget, never can forget. So it's nice to get to meet up with her because, with having 4 children, she's a very busy lady. Her husband travels quite a lot. So she is pretty much hands on deck all the time. Her parents are aging parents. They don't really aren't able to help very much. And so, yeah, it's just really fun when I get to go and see her. I actually had taken the day off, and the last video I might have mentioned, I had a doctor's appointment and then was supposed to schedule a mammogram. So I was going to do all of the doodly things like, okay, and I have the day off today and I'm going to do have a mammogram. And then I said, you know what? No, this is Valentine's Day weekend. My husband and I are going to a concert. It's a guy by the name of Toby Mac. He is formerly of the group DC Talk. And so we've got that planned. We're actually going to go to a beer tasting at Santan Brewing Company tomorrow. And then I think on Sunday, we're going to go see the new Kevin James movie, Something Mio. And it's set in Italy. And it should be a really nice Valentine's weekend. We've never really kind of gone all out. Like, we don't usually go to dinner on Valentine's or anything like that. He's good about getting me flowers and a card. But yeah, we really don't do much of anything. So this is like the first Valentine's in our 24 years where we actually are. It fell that way because of the concert, and then it was like I bought this for a Christmas present for him, and they just happened to have reservations, and I was like, all right, we'll do it. So anyway, my camera's moving around. I'm heading over to coffee right now. I'll of course share some things that happened yesterday that again remind me of why I'm trying as much as possible to do 4-day weeks, because the shenanigans and the just little ways which you're like, why is this happening? It gets to be too much. I can only do 4 days in a row, and then I need a couple of days off. So, all right, I will check back in later. Well, my friend told me this was a 2-story Starbucks, and I have not been to one before. A 2-story Starbucks with a drive-through. So you're about to see it in the feature of a video as I make the turn. How incredible. It's kind of funny, like when you're in kind of like mom circles and you kind of hear about all these places to go that are like kid friendly. And, you know, I'm no longer out of those circles, nor do I really like do much, as I've mentioned, outside of like working. There it is. But here we are. So I'm about to go and experience this for the first time and be reminded, man, 2026 has become the year of really taking up the mantle of I'm going to try new things. So here you have it. All right, I'm going to try to find parking. Pay attention to where the drive-through enters and exits, and enjoy my time with my friend. Well, hello. I am back. I have a approved day off from work. Went and saw my friend, and my next plan of action is I am getting my tax returns together, sending it over so I can have my taxes done. So I have another big thing to check off my list. So I just got everything together, compiled it, sent it over to my tax accountant, because I do not do taxes myself for my business. And now I'm in that precarious situation of, do I want to go and veg out and watch a movie, watch some TV, you know, feeling like I've earned it. I've worked really hard and now I just want to sit and do nothing. The other part of it is I still need to photograph all of the clothing that I showed you that I purchased. Gosh, I want to say it was 2 weeks ago. So again, it's what we call a death pile in the business. I really need that stuff uploaded and, you know, and selling, because if it's not uploaded, it's not selling. So I might end up doing that later, and I'll show you a little bit of that process if I decide to do that. But I think right now I'm going to get myself a little bit of lunch from those leftovers of the emails, which, by the way, I think I haven't really commented on it much, but I do love the email process, and I think I have found a new interest, which is cooking. I think part of it is like the actual like going out and finding something to cook and all that kind of stuff, and you know, and then shopping it and all that. I think again that's where I was having such just a hard time. I didn't like it, but I couldn't figure out what part of the process that I didn't like. And now I know it is the figuring it out and shopping for it. Whereas on emails, it just shows you everything, shows you what the serving size is, what the calories are. You just send it to your local grocery store. They shop it for you, you pick it up, and then you're just good to go. So I think I am really onto something. And dare I say, has cooking become a hobby? Maybe it has. Anyway, I'm going to get myself some lunch and just enjoy this day of not having to go to work. All right, so I had a little break, and I had my Lenny and Larry's protein cookie. This is the brownie, aka double chocolate flavor, so that was very nice. Watched a show called Trying on Apple TV, really cute little series, and kind of was reflecting on, okay, what do I want to do with some of this afternoon? I don't want to like completely be working the whole day. But I think what I'm going to do is I've started working on a Substack where I'm taking a lot of the information that I have learned over the last 6 years in a Montessori classroom, and I'm writing it up. So feel free to head on over there. I'll put the link also in the description. And so I'm doing that. I think I'm going to start processing some more posts for that. And right now I'm kind of debating because the weather is a little bit overcast. And when I photograph for eBay and for Poshmark, I really do rely on the natural light, and I'm not sure that this light's going to give a good enough representation of the clothing. See, even now I'm like kind of weirdly backlit, but it's probably because the light's directly coming in on me. Anyway, also I was thinking, so that's kind of what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this time wisely, and that's the hard part about, you know, being a teacher, is that you're always like teetering on complete exhaustion, and but also knowing, okay, if you're ever going to be able to transition out of this type of work, but you still want to do work that you think really brings value and that you have a lot of expertise in, you've got to be building the next thing as you're in the current thing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a movie. I saw one called Coda, Coda, and it's from a couple years ago. I wanted to see it in the movie theater, but it left the movie theater rather quickly. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll watch that and I'll do some writing and editing, get some video editing done, and maybe share my closet on Poshmark. I finally hit the milestone to be a Poshmark ambassador, whatever that means. I think it means that I get my work or my products get shown to more people, which is nice. So nothing wrong with that. All right, so I think I'm going to get started on that and just maybe check in a little bit later on today. We have plans tonight, as I mentioned before, to go to a concert, which I'm so excited about. So yeah, it is going to be a very good day. It's already 1:10, so if I were at work right now, we have half days at our school, or not half days, 1 hour early release. So the children would be leaving in about an hour. So it's kind of weird to think, I've already like used most of my day up, but at least it was on my own terms, very casually. Yeah, so not a bad day all in all.